So, this is a different topic, isn't it? Usually my videos are focused more on the gameplay of Genshin, whether it's analyzing the existing content or making my own original ideas of things I'd love to see in-game. But my streams have a completely different energy. When I stream, it is for the purpose of playing through and experiencing a story. I'm not really someone who understands all of Genshin's lore, but I do understand storytelling pretty well. Plot development, characterization, dialogue, all of these are things I love to break down and analyze, both throughout and after my playthrough. And so I wanted to try something kind of new for a video. Instead of an analysis on gameplay mechanics, I wanted to do one on a story quest. For my first episode, I'll be looking at none other than Shilonen's quest, Melodious Chant. It should be no surprise that I chose her quest of all people. I mean, after all, my gameplay analysis featured a 3-minute commercial skit, which you should definitely check out if you haven't already. I worked really hard on that part. Now, I should mention, I'm not going to be analyzing the quest in its entirety. I only want to cover some of the moments or aspects that really caught my attention during this playthrough. For additional disclaimers, please remember that stories are subjective. My interpretation is just that, an interpretation, so it should be considered as an opinion more than anything else. If you have your own take, you're welcome to share in the comments, just be respectful as always. And if it hasn't clicked in your head yet, spoilers if you haven't played through the story quest. Finally, disclaimers, timestamps, social media links, and music credits are down below as well. So without further ado, let's break down this quest. The first section will be an analysis on the Tlazoli and Nachka reveal. As a very quick summary, Tlazoli has a daughter named Nachka. Because of an abyss attack, Nachka became physically ill and had suffered amnesia, losing all of her memories from before the attack. The physical illness was recovering, but to treat the amnesia, Tlazoli created something called Blaze Gem inscriptions, which had a special purpose of siphoning memories from people wearing them. Specifically, memories of Nachka. Her goal was to create an artificial ancient name for her, and through other people's memories of Nachka, she could create a sort of memory bank and restore her own daughter's memory. There's a bit of a moral dilemma with this whole plan, but Xilonen and the Traveler seem pretty down to help out. That whole dilemma doesn't even become the focus of the quest. During one of our visits to Tlazoli's house, Nachka falls over trying to get out of bed. I was expecting this to be the scene where we finally meet Nachka, but then we don't. This stood out to me because it was then that I realized we were around halfway through the story quest, and we still never got introduced to this character. I was questioning why the writers were dragging out the reveal in the first place. At first, I thought she was going to be like a Hilichurl or something. Fast forward a bit, and we finally meet Nachka. No, she's not a Hilichurl. She doesn't even have any sort of physical abnormalities. She's just a girl who's sick. So, what was the big deal? Why take so long to reveal her character to us? Fast forward even more, and there's a sequence where we take Nachka out of the house for a bit, and this is where the facade starts to slip. In the first part of this scene, both Iknal, an NPC, and Xilonen asked Nachka a question, to which Tlazoli was the one who answered them both.
I remember that Nachka would become so happy every time she saw a shiny ring. Right, Nachka?
I'm sure she'd love that. Thank you.
Oh, I can make the jewelry for her. What kind would you like, Nachka?
I would like... something shaped like an embercore flower would be nice. She was always asking me before to make her an ancient name with an embercore flower design.
She's getting like really, what is it, like, controlling. Iknal's part was a bit more subtle because the question itself was just kind of a casual thing. But when she answered Shilonen's question, it definitely set off alarms in my head because this was a more personal question. And it just continued to spiral from there because Tlazoli was becoming a helicopter parent, constantly needing to know what Nachka was talking about, or forcing her to stay near Tlazoli at all times. I started to feel tension. Then it starts to get concerning, and honestly, a little bit creepy. But regardless, it all felt so unexpected. And that's when I understood why they postponed Nachka's introduction. For the first half of the quest, all of what we know about Nachka is being told to us through Tlazoli, What was her backstory? What things does she like? What is she like? All of that info we know, or think we know, is relayed by Tlazoli. The reason why they postponed the reveal of Nechka is so that by the time we finally meet her, we already have a false image of her in our minds. Not just one that's been talked about once, then brushed away immediately. This seed has been planted in our heads since the beginning. Remember, this isn't a singular quest, it's a Tribal Chronicle series. There were 2 little mini-quests before this, which also gave us that false exposition of who Tlazoli and Nechka were. I played the story in 1 day, but imagine being someone who started the first 2 parts in 5.0. That little sprout of false info I had in my head must have been a tree for the ones who played it early. Going into this scene expecting an overprotective mother, and coming out the other end knowing there's some kind of abusive relationship going on, is a massive shift in tone. And once again, taking these steps to subvert our expectations played a vital role in making that reveal all the more engaging. Once we got past the first reveal, we still don't have all the pieces. Over the course of this scene, we're getting drops of context, but at a pace where the player has time to think about and question everything. We start by recognizing the abusive relationship between Tlazoli and Nechka. Then we start to get clues that Nechka might not actually have amnesia. But that doesn't make sense. The whole point of the memory ceremony is to restore Nechka's memory. What if she doesn't actually have amnesia? Why do we need the ceremony? What is the missing piece? Oh, you know what this is giving me? This is giving me like Mother Gothel vibes. Dude, what if that isn't Nechka's actual mom? Turns out that crack theory I had during the stream wasn't crack at all. Moving into the climax, we find out the truth. This girl, right here, is not Nechka. Nechka died in the Abyss attack. This girl is Nepeka, a child whose real parents died in the same Abyss attack as Nechka. Tlazoli took Nepeka in after as a bit of a coping mechanism, which actually would have been a nice found family scenario if shit didn't hit the fan. Tlazoli could have had a daughter, and Nepeka could have had a parent, but Tlazoli was so full of grief that she couldn't accept Nechka's death, and that grief turned into an obsession to get her daughter back. The plan was the same: use Blazing Inscription to take people's memories of Nechka and create a memory bank, but instead of using the memories to restore Nechka's own memories, she would use Nepeka as a vessel and force those memories to override her consciousness. From there, the plot goes as usual. We stop Tlazoli before she completes her plan, have a really sick cutscene that ends with emotional damage, and complete the quest with the tying of loose ends and additional lore. Yay! Okay, so that's my whole rant about how they revealed the truth of Nepeka and Tlazoli. They just did so many things to make it engaging. They planted seeds from the very beginning just to set up false expectations. They revealed the truth at a breadcrumb pace so that it slowly built up context, but continued to leave players questioning things until the very end. And the best part is, this isn't like a plot twist that just doesn't make sense. Yes, they planted seeds to give you false expectations, but when you look back at the story in hindsight, everything actually lines up. And this has got to be one of my favorite sets of scenes in the whole game so far. So that's it for the first part. Moving on to the other big thing I wanted to discuss, let's talk about To Kill the Brave, its 2 distinct endings, and how it aligns with the characters of the story quest. Here's the very, very basic summary of the 2 versions of the story. There were 2 brothers, Tequil and Rimac. They've been battling minions of a demon lord named Coatlicue, and embark on a journey to defeat her for good. Coatlicue finds and takes control of a snake, who then attacks Rimac and possesses him. Tequil now has to rescue his brother, and the story has 2 distinct endings. The original ending is very Brothers Grimm oriented. It ends with Tequil having to kill Rimac in order to defeat Coatlicue, and proceeding to die himself by jumping into a volcano. Pretty dark ending, all things considered. The newer version of the story ends in a more kid-friendly manner. Tequil is able to save his brother, and both of them are able to return home safely. Happily ever after, no lasting consequences. I'm sure many players have already pieced this together, but the characters in the story quest can be represented by the characters in the fairy tale. But something I found interesting is that you can view this representation in 2 different ways, and it all depends on who you view as Tequil Rimac, the Snake, and Coatlicue. I need you to bear with me on this because the connections are not one-to-one replicas of each other, but there are striking similarities for both of these perspectives that not only give us a deeper understanding of the two stories, but also the fates of the characters in the quest. The first representation is the one people probably notice the most. Tequil is represented by Xilonen, Rimac is Nepeka, the Snake would be Nechka, and Coatlicue is Tlazoli. For this arrangement, Xilonen, Nepeka, and Tlazoli make sense. Xilonen is trying to save Nepeka from being controlled by Tlazoli. But what's the purpose in including Nechka as the Snake? The way I viewed the story, Coatlicue is still the one possessing Rimac, but she's doing it through a sort of medium, which is the Snake. Figuratively speaking, Tlazoli is doing just that. She has power over Nepeka and is controlling her words and actions, but she's doing this through the identity of Nechka, trying to make her act like Nechka, like the same things that Nechka would like. You are what I say you are, and what you are is Nechka. Once again, it's just a figurative form of possession and control, but it still mirrors what happened in the story. So that's the first perspective. For the other version, we completely flip the script. What if Tequil is Tlazoli, Rimac is Nechka, the Snake is Nepeka, and Xilonen is Coatlicue? This is a perspective that doesn't hold a lot of merit from an outsider perspective, but it makes perfect sense when we view it through Tlazoli's eyes. Through her distorted lens, Nechka is being possessed by Nepeka, and now she, the hero of this story, needs to rescue her daughter. In the quest, Xilonen is able to give Nepeka opportunities to voice her troubles, and even gives her the strength to directly say, "I need help." When you distort the lens, Xilonen is trying to prevent Nechka from being freed. She wants the Snake to continue possessing her body. Why does this analogy matter anyway? Because depending on which way you're viewing the story, the two endings will match the fate of the characters in the quest. One ending will be the reality for a character, while the other could have been an ending of what could have been. Let's explore the first perspective, where Rimac is portrayed by Nepeka. Had Xilonen failed to stop Tlazoli, Nepeka would have seen a similar fate to Rimac in the old version of Tequil the Brave. Now, I don't think it would end with Xilonen having to kill Nepeka, just the fact that Nepeka effectively dies in the ritual. Fortunately, the new version of Tequil the Brave is what parallels the quest. Rimac/Nepeka is saved, the villain is defeated, they get their happy ending. Moving on to the other perspective, had Tlazoli succeeded in her plan to bring Nechka back, she would have achieved the newer ending for herself. She would be reunited with her daughter, meanwhile Nepeka would be expelled from her body, and Xilonen, by extension, would be defeated. The new version is meant to parallel her ideal version of the events playing out. Of course, this doesn't happen in the quest. Tlazoli doesn't get to achieve the newer ending of the story. That ending goes to Nepeka. So if Nepeka's reality is the newer ending, is it safe to say that Tlazoli's reality is the older ending? Hypothetically, yeah. While the old version of Tequil the Brave ended on a sadder note, there was a nice message to go along with it. I do not wish to see your blood be reduced to ash, but I've seen the light of your heart and spirit. Remember my name, brother. As long as you remember me, I will have never left. To summarize this line, your loved ones are always with you, as long as you hold them close to your heart. Xilonen echoes this idea at the end of the quest.
Nechka has always been with you, Auntie. The immovable love between you and Nechka has already been recorded in your ancient name, but you chose to ignore that. Names are blessings from the past to the future. You told me that, Auntie.
So what does this mean for Tlazoli? Well, she's definitely a villain. She basically kidnapped Nepeka, poisoned her to keep her weak, psychologically abused her, and was willing to sacrifice her. I would hope that no one has any arguments that she should get her due punishment, but take that villainous part away, and the core of her character is shown to be a grieving parent. Of course, this is a very extreme story of what grief can do to a person, but even still, grief will heal over time. Even if Tlazoli's forever locked away for her crimes, she can still experience the older ending of the tale through self-reflection and self-healing. It's still painful to lose a loved one, but how you respond to it makes all the difference in what that loss entails. With enough time, Tlazoli may learn how to honor her daughter's life the right way, through memories, through stories, and through the first blessing she ever gave her. Remember my name, Mother. As long as you remember me, I will never have left. Alright, that is gonna do it for my first Genshin story analysis. I gotta say, I loved Shielinen's quest. Definitely a top tier in my book. I know I didn't discuss every major topic in this video. For example, there's a lot of neat stuff involving ancient name forging, the importance of a name, and what goes into giving that name a real meaning. Truth is, I just didn't have much to say about it. Even if I didn't have much to say about it, maybe you do. If you want to leave a comment, feel free to add on to any of the points I talked about, or mention things I may have missed in this initial analysis, or use this as an opportunity to talk about any of the other topics I didn't really cover at all. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like and subscribing to support the channel. Thanks again for watching everyone, and I will see you all next time. Bye!